Faust, my co-host, and we were talking backstage before the show started. And John and I are always talking about investments and taking care of our old age needs and that kind of thing. And John and I are both um, ex entrepreneurial types. And, it's a matter of managing what you have, because you can be poor if you have a net worth of $3 million and you've got $4 million worth of things being taken care of bills wise, or you can be very frugal and live a wonderful life on a much lower a net worth. It's all about what you're doing with what you're doing. And John said that he liquidated some investments and he was going to do some home improvements. So he has a little chunk of cash that he is going to use for that. But I said, where is the cash now? And he said, well, I'm going to transfer it from my checking into my savings account.
Actually, Mark, it's still actually sitting in the brokerage account.
Yeah.
And I was going to bring it over.
Yeah. And so it's not making any money there.
Correct.
And if you transfer it into your savings account, preparing to use that in a month or 2 months or whatever it is, that bank account or the credit card savings account pays 0.000%. So if you have $10,000 in that account, then you're going to make nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, that's not even, doesn't even accrue a cent, or maybe it's 1 cent every 3 months. But there are accounts that are online savings accounts that are high yield. And the one that I prefer to use is Marcus by Goldman Sachs.
I'm sorry, what is it again?
It's called Marcus by Goldman Sachs.
Marcus, like Markus?
Yes. And we can put some links in the show notes.
Okay.
But they pay 4.5% right now. And what you do is you hook up you make an online savings account with them, then you hook it to your bank account, and then you just transfer up to Marcus. That takes about 2 or 3 days. And then when you want your money back to spend it, you transfer it back down to, you said you were with United.
US Bank is my primary.
So you can just transfer it back, and it takes about 2 or 3 days to make the transfer. So your money is clumsy for a couple of days, but then you're making all of that money while it sits. So you shouldn't have any money that isn't getting you an investment income that's not in a high yield account. So if it's going to sit there temporarily, we need to, because like I have people that have $100,000 in a savings account, and they're like, oh, Mark, I don't want to bother with it. And I'm like, dude, we put $100,000 in there, and it pays for your cell phone bill every month. You get $300 a month, and every time I tell somebody about this, they all say the same thing. Oh my God, I didn't know this. Thank God, And so this is kind of what this show is about, helping people figure out how to do this stuff in simplistic terms and little tricks to handle things.
Yeah, just so people
on the show.
Just so people that are going to listen to this, just so you know, Mark's the smart one at the group. And
how about that?
I'm the guy that asks the questions and speak for us common folk. And I'm not ashamed to ever admit what I don't know, because I don't know what I don't know. And then somebody tells me something, or I learn something new. And today is one of those days. I will be setting up a Marcus account. So thank you.
Yes. And I'd like to come back on the next show or two, when you've set it all up, you can give people your feedback on, was it easy, or well, how did we do it, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it over the next day or two.
The thing that we need to watch for is the safety of the advice that we're giving people. And, Luann just wanted to buy some twinkly lights that go in the bushes in the backyard by the pool. And she, poor thing, found one on Facebook that she liked and gave them their credit card number. And 3 minutes later, I had the bank calling me, hey, we need to cancel your credit card. 4 people have made inquiries, and you just can't give somebody your credit card on Facebook.
I had that. I've been pretty lucky compared to most people. And a few years back, I had a situation with Kohl's where somebody was buying stuff, and I'm looking at my gap going, what is this? And it was being shipped to Washington and down in Texas, and that was a big brouhaha, but I got it squared away. Then about a month ago, on a Monday, I was checking something and I saw a charge in the middle of the night, and it had an international processing fee, and they took care of it. They did the fraud check and all that.
And they seem to be pretty good with that.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, and they knew that, you could just look at it and go, what is this? So, but you prefer to not have to go through that.
Yes.
And, to interrelate topics, talking about the credit card thing, and you don't just give out things. For people that are watching this, eventually people will understand that we have baby boomers, old souls on Facebook. And one of the things that's just a constant problem is, I don't care how hard you try to vet people get in, and then they're wanting a friend request or they're asking things. Don't do it. And we're doing the best we can to vet those people out. The people who do that stuff, they're good. So just be cautious.
Yeah. And we're dealing with it. We have over 150,000 members in that group. And that group is for senior citizens. Where the old souls baby boomer group is aging into, a group of, senior citizens that are really, dealing with a lot of things. And then we're starting a new group called the Silent Generation group. And that group is going to be for the other, 75 to 80 or 90-year-olds. But that's going to be in conjunction with independent living homes. And we're going to broadcast podcasts and social interaction to that group. And that's a much different group. That's a much different target.
Right. And Mark, I'm not so certain that I've thought more about that. I'm not so certain that we shouldn't consider making Silent Generation a private page.
Yeah, I think that can be considered for sure.
Especially because you know how it is. Once you get rolling with something, it's hard to go back. And I just think a lot of the people in that age group, they may not be as up on things as other people. And you know, I want to help them and protect them. And if it's private, we have a little more control over, you know, who's coming in.
Well, I think that it's probably something where we may have two groups. Man, my skin is breaking out with these kidney failure. I got these people probably think I'm a meth addict. If everybody knows, I have this kidney failure I'm dealing with on dialysis, and sometimes my skin gets dry. But anyway, two groups. Maybe we have a old silent generation user group and a silent generation assistance group. But really, the silent generation group that's public is for senior citizen homes, independent living homes, and the social directors can direct all that, put it on their TV and show them the broadcast and let them interact with it. And then the private one is for the actual people themselves that can still get on and do all that kind of thing. So somebody's just watching over, you know, because I think the silent generation thing is going to be more and more of a window into the world, like the baby boomers group is. And the baby boomer group, you know, there's a lot of active people that are doing a lot of fun things. It's awesome. However, there's some people that are in that group that are like, hey, thank God I was so lonely. You know, I just want to see some pictures of some different people that look like me and drove a car like I did. And you know, that's my stewardship on that group, is to present something for those folks to give them a happy smile on their day. You know, I'm going to check my group, and that's enough. You know, that's why I'm so strict about toxicity on that group. And I hate to be the bad guy, but I just will not allow any toxicity in that group because my people are in there having a good time. You know, and if you want to be a crab apple or whatever, you know, we get rid of you.
Yeah.
And it's not that you know, mean, you know, but
yeah, people aren't getting on there to be, well, at least I hope not. They shouldn't be getting on there to feel aggravated or to be demeaned by someone because they don't agree with their take on something. We just don't need that. I mean, not everything.
In addition to the fact that there's a lot of them on there, John, that they're just looking for a fight. You know, they're spoiling for, you know, somebody to argue with. You know, their wife divorced them, and because they're such a shithole, and you know, the kids won't talk to them, so they want to pick a fight with somebody else, and they just want to be contrary. And I just won't allow it. And I've told several of them, please make your baby boomer group that is focused on negativity and toxicity, politics, and religion, and I will join your group. And you moderate it, and you take care of it, and we'll leave it over here with John and I's group of positivity and you know, inclusion of, you know, everybody, and you know. Is it valid? Yes. I mean, I told the guy this morning in a little note. He said, well, you know, these things are happened, and you can't say that there weren't any juvenile delinquents back in our time. I said, that's fine. I said, but here's the analogy. If there was a kid that was a thug and a criminal, and he died because he got shot in the commission of a crime, all those things might be true, but his funeral service in front of his mother and grandmother is not the place to talk about it. And here is not the place to talk about whatever bad things were happening. We're focusing on the good things, and it's our group. So if we don't want to talk about whatever bad things, we don't have to. And you can't make us. You know,
I know, you know, I've gotten suckered in a couple of times, you know, with one of the guys that, and I'm sure you saw it as well. You've seen a lot of them, this guy in particular, you're taking away my freedom of speech.
Yes.
No.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, it's like there are guidelines when you join.
Well, I'm not taking away the freedom of speech. Here's what I'm doing. You have your freedom of speech, and when you use it one time, there's a consequence. And the consequence is we ban you. You never can get on the site again with your username. If you make a new username, it's a year until you can post on a new username. So yes, you have the freedom to say whatever you want to, but you don't have a freedom from consequences. And the consequence here is I will jettison you with a,
I agree. And I always use the example of, you know what? You can't yell fire in a movie theater.
Absolutely.
You have the freedom of speech to do it.
But there's a consequence.
There's going to be consequences.
And we've got too good of a thing going.
Right.
There's just streams and reams and posts. And I try to go through whenever there's a bad comment and I'm going to ban somebody, I go through and love all the posts on that string that are positive. But John, I got to tell you, some of these things are like 300 and 400 comments. And I try to love them all and like them all and laugh at them all just to double check and make sure there's nobody making trouble. Oh my God, it's crazy how good it is.
Yeah.
And people love it. And we're having a great time. And it's doing everything that I ever wanted it to do as a support for this podcast and this show. I wish more people would get switched over to the page because I can't stream live from the group. And our producer's going to come on board next week and hopefully they'll be able to figure some of that stuff out. And
that would be great.
Well, because you and I are just fumbling our way along.
Hey, man,
we're lucky enough to get this far.
I'm showing up. I'm logging in.
Right.
And here we are. So when you say that we stuff, it's not a complete we. I'm glad I show up on the screen.
Brother, I'm exactly the same. I'm exactly the same way at a different level, but hopefully we're providing what we're providing. And then there's other people that are willing to help us help the other people, and
I think it's important for you. I think it's important that load gets taken off your plate. You do it and you're good at it. And it's the reason we're doing this at all. But we might, when you get your kidney transplant, which, by the way, how's that going and where's that headed?
I'm approved for transplant, and Luann, my wife, who's the donor, is approved. However, she's having a little struggle right now with some seizures, and that may or may not DQ her from being my donor. But I have my daughter and her son-in-law are on the list to get tested, and several other people. I'm blessed that there's a lot of people that are reaching out and wanting to help me, and I'm putting all the rest of that in God's hands. I try to help other people, and God sends other people to help me, and it's been the truth in my life for a long time, and it's I never have to worry about it. God's making me learn this lesson with this dialyzer. He's making me kind of sit down a little bit and appreciate what I've got and all that kind of stuff. And I'm learning, what to do.
Well, I'd offer you my kidney, but that just probably gets you in more trouble. So you need to deal with younger, better people.
Well, let me tell you something. Do not say that because, I appreciate every person. I had a guy come up to me at an AA meeting the other day, and I go to this AA meeting. I don't go to the AA meetings very often anymore. I'm 25 years sober. I just go when a new person needs help, but I don't go all the time. But I started going to this inner city. It's kind of a black church type of a meeting. It's a
Cool.
it's a bad part of town kind of thing, but the people are just as genuine and nice as they can be, and I embrace them and they embrace me, and I have really found a home there. And so I go to the Friday gratitude meeting at the Kelly Club in Oklahoma City, and
I think it's great.
well, one of the things is there's a lady there. Her name is Doretha, and she has been around there for 50 years or so. And when she was a little girl and got in that meeting, her and another guy that took her there, a blind guy, took her there. And they had a vote on whether they'd allow black people into their AA meeting. And little Doretha was sitting there, and she was just newly trying to get sober. And she tells the story. She said, hey, Jim, what am I going to do? And he said, hey, don't worry about it. And luckily, they integrated, and a lot of the racist people went to a different meeting. And that meeting has been the oldest AA meeting this side of the Mississippi. And, it was the only meeting that would let black people in for a long time. And it just goes to show you, what we need to do about helping each other and being together. And,
I make this analogy, and some people understand it and some people don't. Well, first of all, both Mark and I grew up in Oklahoma, and I'm in Colorado. That's where I met Mark. Mark has since gone back to Oklahoma, and I'm very thankful for growing up there. Colorado's a little more meets my lifestyle. But growing up in Oklahoma, it could be a little tough if, you're a minority. And one of the reasons that I've always been empathetic is by having polio as a kid and having a limp and wearing a brace. I didn't go through what a black person went through, but I went through discrimination of a different nature.
I'll bet that's true.
And I tell this story. I actually learned to fight when I was a kid, because if I didn't fight back, I was just going to be pushed around. And one of my, I guess, more favorite stories is when I was still in Enid, Oklahoma. So I was young. Maybe I was 10 or 11 or something. And these two teenage boys, older kids, came walking by us. And right as we passed, one of the kids just hacked a big maggot in my face.
Oh my goodness.
Not a little one. One where you're standing there and it's just dripping down. And they're walking away and they're laughing. And that was the moment that kind of changed my life, because I turned around and I ran, and then I dove right into the back of both of their legs. So it threw them to the ground, and I just started beating the snot out of them until they got the upper hand to beat the snot out of me. And when I went home, my mom asked what happened, and I told her, and that kind of started that whole thing. So again, I don't know what it's like to be black, but I know, there's a kinship there. And that stuff just drives me crazy. I don't understand racism. I don't understand people bullying and taking advantage of other people. I to this day, I still have a super low tolerance for it. So anyway,
Well,
it's really
for
cool
me,
that
I think it's our duty to just make sure everybody gets a fair shake,
yeah.
and undo that type of thing, and if there's somebody you could fight for, like Doretha, I would hope that when they're having their vote, that I'd be next to a person like Doretha standing up for her, and that's the thing to do, and to get back to all that, I had a guy come up to me and say, "Hey, Mark, if I could donate my kidney to you, just know that I used to take a lot of drugs and stuff, and now I'm better, but I don't know if they would let me because of that or whatever." And it just warms my heart. It's like, this guy's coming to me trying to be humble about whether he can give me a life-saving organ. And, it's like, "Hey, brother, thank you. I appreciate every single one of you." And, that's in my life. I am about making memories, and I'm about utilizing the financial, things that we have to make memories and have fun with our people. And at the end of the day, you run into that wall, and it's not important who you are, how rich you are, or anything like that. It's, did you use your resources that you have to make somebody else happy and increase the love in the universe, and create, something good, and look after somebody that's maybe can't stand up for themselves. That's what we're all about.
You said it earlier. Sorry. You said it earlier. You can have a lot of money and be broke. And you can have a lot of money and be broke in a lot of different ways. And the people that lead a good life, whatever that stage that is, but they still have empathy and compassion for others, those if there was another level of how you measure success and being rich, those are the really rich people.
Absolutely.
And, I had an interesting thing said yesterday. Mark and I have a mutual friend, Jason Clark, and Jason had done something for me. And so I said, well, let me take you to lunch. And so there's this new place here in Parker, Colorado called Jesse's Smokin', and then it's NOLA for New Orleans, Louisiana.
Oh, there you go.
First of all, it was outstanding. And it was like 12:30, and it's a small place. They were packing them in. The food was great. It was reasonable. Well, I don't even know what started it, but this lady came by that worked there, and there was a little thing on our table, and she picked it up and said something. And I said, because it was like a table for 4 or 6, but it was the only place we could sit. And I said, are we like breaking the rules? Are we not supposed to be, sitting here? She goes, no, you're fine. And this is exactly what I said. I said, you know what? It's not as if I haven't made more than a few mistakes in my life. So I just wanted to make sure we're all good. And then she turned and she said something that caught me off guard. She's either very what's the word I'm looking, intuitive.
Right.
And she looked right at me and she said, you don't run across many humble people nowadays. I didn't know what to say. And then she looked right at me and she said, you must be a leader.
Amazing.
And she walked away. Jason,
amazing.
yeah, and Jason and I both kind of looked at each other, and I said, well, I, you know, I try to be humble, and I don't know if I'm really a leader, but I try to be a leader. But to have
No,
somebody say
I
it,
would say you are.
to have somebody say it that doesn't really know you, that was like my big win for the day.
And I think it's just about how you carry yourself, you know. And I have found that, you know, if you're nice to people, they're nice to you back.
Yeah, not
Most of the
without,
time.
you know, there's exceptions, but the majority of the time that is dead straight true. So,
And
okay,
just to put a bow on top of this 30-minute thing, we were talking about the Marcus.
yep,
And it's an internet bank account that's FDIC insured and is safe for your money. And that's what you need to look at. And the reason I recommend Marcus is because I know that's true. Capital has
Mark,
one.
how am I, if I plug in, I'm in front of my computer, but if I plug in Marcus Savings,
Well, the trick on this is that they don't have a branch.
Online saving options, Marcus by Goldman Sachs.
Yes.
So here's what I'll say to the people that are listening or that will listen later. I actually have a little bit of money in a savings account as well, but separately. I may get this going and, you know, put that money in here. And if I see that I can get 4.4%. And if I'm able to transfer that back and forth,
And you will.
then why be an idiot?
Yeah. Well, and it's not only that, we just don't know so much. You know, it's kind of like if you can afford to pay your car insurance annually instead of monthly, you save a payment. And it's not that you're ignorant, it's just you don't know for sure. So while you're paying monthly, save up for next year, and then you could save a little dough. You know, and it's those little things that help people. And, you know, you and I started off the conversation of, hey, what do you think about investing in some real estate? What do you think about doing that? And I didn't get to finish that conversation with you, but the real estate that I do has to do with fractional ownership of friends that work together. And when you put your money in, there's every likelihood that it will double in the asset, but you can't get at it because it's in the asset. We buy a $40,000 house. We put $10,000 in it to fix it up. 5 people all put in $10,000, so they own a fifth of it, and it doubles. So now it's worth $100,000 because we got a renter in it, and it's all fixed up. And so now your 10 is worth 20, but it's in the house, and it's streaming $500 a month in rental income into that corporation of the closely held friends, and eventually it'll start squeezing out some money. But you know, it takes a while for those
It's
things
a long term
to cure. Well, and the thing about it is, you know, and I can show my investments that I made so that people can understand, hey, how does this work, Mark? Well, I can't tell you what this one's going to do, but I bought a house in Inglewood for $118,000 11 years ago, and now it's worth $450,000 and it makes $3,000 a month. And I started off renting it for $750 a month, and there wasn't that much money coming out of it. But now it's a good chunk of, helping Luann and I, pay for our bills in our old age.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
and it just, I like to make sure that people know it's not a get rich quick scheme.
Right.
I don't do any debt financing. If somebody has to borrow, $15,000 from their Aunt Judy to buy into one of our LLCs to invest and then pay her back, that's acceptable. Because I always tell everybody, I can't tell you how many loans I made against my personal house to buy investment properties and pay myself back. But never did I leverage the investment properties so we never lose them. And Luann and I mortgaged our house and then paid it down and mortgaged our house and paid it down, a little bit less each time. But, everybody needs to do a little something. But if you have to leverage your income asset, then there's no way you can be successful. The banker gets all the money.
Yep.
So,
okay, man. My job is going to be, I'm going to go through the process of getting some money into the Marcus online savings. And the next time we get together, I'll be able to explain how easy, or how the process went. And then if it helps somebody else out, so much the better.
I love it, man.
Okay. Have a great day.